Hello Dados Bath Tree, I hope you're all doing well and are ready for another week of learning. So, what I'm going to show you today, our learning objective is to read increments on scales. Now, an increment is every little line on each scale. You might notice on this scale where we're measuring the weight of something because it's in kilograms, there's only numbers on the first increment and the last increment. So that means we need to find out what each of these little lines stand for. Okay, what each of the increments are worth, how many kilograms. And to do that, all we need to do is count the number of increments and then divide it by the number that we have on our first line. Okay, so from 0 we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 increments from 0, and our first number that we get to after 0 is 5 kilograms. So all we need to do is say 5 divided by 5. Okay, so that's 5 kilograms divided by 5. You can tell me how much that is. Yeah, that's a nice easy one, isn't it? 5 divided by 5 equals 1. So every one of these little lines here are worth 1 kilogram. Okay? So it would be going up in 1 kilogram. So we would go 1 kilogram, 2, 3, 4, until we got to 5. This one might not be quite so simple. So this one, we start at 0 grams and we go all the way to 100 grams, but we don't know what each of these little lines stand for. So if you had an arrow here and you needed to read this scale, how much that increment was worth, you'd have to work out how much each of them are worth first. Okay, so we know that our number here is 100 grams. So I'm going to put 100 first. So it's going to be 100 divided by something. Can you see that? So from 0, we're going to count on how many increments are on our scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Brilliant. Okay, so we know that there's 10 increments and our first number is 100 grams. So we need to divide 100 by 10. So that's asking you how many times can 10 be shared into 100? How many times does 10 go into 100? Let's use our times tables here. We know our times tables really, really well. So we can count up in our times tables. 1 times 10 is 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 3 times 10 is 30. 4 times 10 is 40. 5 times 10 is 50. 6 times 10 is 60. 7 times 10 is 70. 8 times 10 is 80. 9 times 10 is 90. 10 times 10 is 100. Exactly. So that means that 100 divided by 10 equals 10. Fantastic, because 10 goes into 100 10 times. We must remember our units here, okay? Because our scales are going up in different units. This one was kilograms, this one's grams. So now we know each little line is worth 10 grams. So it's going to go up in 10 grams each time. So after 10, we're going to have 20, 30, 40, 50. How much is this one then? That's right, it's going to be 60. So we know that that little arrow is pointing to 60 grams. 70, 80, 90, 100 grams. Fantastic. Now, not all scales go across like this, are horizontal. Sometimes you might see scales that are vertical, and this week you're going to be looking at capacity, okay? And capacity is how much liquid something can hold. And when we measure in capacity, we either measure in millilitres or litres, okay? And in 1 litre, there are 1,000 millilitres, okay? Just so you know that in 1 litre, there are 1,000 millilitres. But to read these scales, the first thing we're going to need to do is find out the increments, aren't we? We're going to have to find out what our scales are going up in. So I want to find out what these 2 arrows on my scale stand for. So we've got our 0 here, and the first number we've got is 12 millilitres. So we know we're going to need to divide 12 by how many increments I've got in between, okay? So 12 millilitres. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 12 millilitres divided by 6 increments. How many times can 6 go into 12? You could share if you're a little bit confused about how to divide, couldn't you? You could draw out 6 circles. Okay, and share equally 12 millilitres. So you could use your dots for the millilitres. So you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. How many have we got in each group? That's right, 2. So that means 12 divided by 6 is 2 millilitres. So each of our little lines, each of our increments is worth 2 millilitres. So now we can pop that on our scale. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 12. So what's the arrow worth? That's correct, it's worth 8 millilitres. Diane, I'm just going to rub that one out so that can see the next one clearly. Okay, the last one we're going to look at then. This one goes from 0, and our next number is 250. Let's find out how many increments we've got in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right then, so we need to divide 250 divided by 5. Now that's quite a big number, isn't it? That's quite a big number, but we can do something a little bit special here. What we can do is we can take off our 0 and we'll keep it and we'll put it back on at the end. And that makes our numbers a little bit easier because can you see how 25 divided by 5 is a bit of an easier sum than 250? All we're going to do with this 0 is put it back on at the end, okay? So 25 divided by 5, how many times does 5 go into 25? Can you use your times tables to do it? Or can you share it out into little groups? That's right, 25 divided by 5 equals 5, okay? But we've got to put our 0 back on, okay? We've got to put our 0 back on. So actually, 250 divided by 5 is 50 millilitres. Should we put them on our scale as well? So 50, 100, 150, 200, 250. Our little arrow is pointing to what number? 200 millilitres exactly. Now when you're reading scales, it's really, really, really important that you work out the increments of your scales first, what your scale is going up in, okay? Because every scale might be different. Remember as well, really important to show our units, whether we're measuring in litres, millilitres, grams, kilograms, centimetres, you name it, okay? Good luck. Remember, if you need any help, just let me know. Send me a message on Seesaw. See you for now. Bye.